Hello there, you're watching World News Program on All 24 News Channel. I'm Kieran Zachary and these are tonight's top stories. In Gaza, dozens killed in fresh Zionist raids targeting displaced and starving civilians. Hospitals are running out of blood supplies while the UN slams the occupation for blocking aid. Also in our news, an international group warns against any EU-Morocco trade deal that skirts a court ruling and sidelines the Polisario front. Activists say such moves undermine Sahrawi self-determination as the Rif National Party blasts Morocco's bullying. Next, in France, lawmakers push a new bid to impeach President Macron, with the left demanding a sixth republic. Meanwhile, Francois Bayroul's camp warns of possible IMF fallout if a no-confidence vote goes through. And later on, Canberra expels Iran's ambassador, accusing Tehran of anti-Semitic attacks, and urges Australians to leave Iran, saying it can't guarantee their safety. Tehran denies the claims and vows to retaliate. All this and more shortly. Hello again and welcome back to the program. First off in our news, and as you followed in our headlines since early Tuesday, Zionist strikes have unleashed fresh bloodshed in Gaza, flattening homes, tents sheltering the displaced, and even a crowded market. Hospital sources say at least 27 people were killed and dozens more injured in Gaza City alone. One family was completely wiped out, father, mother, and their 5 children, in an attack on their home in a Sabra in central Gaza. Civil defense crews pulled 8 bodies from the rubble in the Borage camp, while more lives were lost in strikes on Deir el-Bala and Nusayrat, including women and children.
The Zionist occupation has intensified airstrikes on Gaza City. Just moments ago, the market near Al Ahli Arab Hospital was targeted. This market is extremely crowded with citizens, almost constantly bustling with people. A direct missile strike hit the civilians, and reports indicate 4 martyrs so far. There are injured children and women, and anyone who was inside the market within a radius of about 50 meters could have been harmed by this missile that struck the area.
In the same context, Zionist forces opened fire near several aid distribution centers across Gaza, killing at least 12 starving Palestinians and wounding many more. In Rafah, Nasser Hospital reported receiving the bodies of 5 victims and several injured. Al-Auda Hospital in central Gaza, for its turn, confirmed 3 killed and dozens wounded after gunfire struck crowds waiting at or on a Salahadi street. In the north, 2 more people were killed near the Sudanese aid area as desperate civilians continue to come under fire, while waiting for food. Meanwhile, the health ministry in Gaza says the death toll from the occupation starvation campaign has climbed to 303, among them 117 children. In the past 24 hours alone, 3 Palestinians died in local hospitals, and a young man passed away yesterday morning at a shifa, succumbing to hunger, severe malnutrition, and the lack of medicine in the besieged strip. Gaza's health ministry is also sounding the alarm over a severe shortage of blood supplies. Officials are saying hospitals need more than 350 units every day, as Zionist airstrikes continue to leave nearly 100 dead and more than 600 wounded daily. Many of the injuries are critical and require urgent transfusions, but blood donations have dropped sharply amid widespread hunger and malnutrition across the entire strip. For its part, the United Nations is again warning that Israel is blocking life-saving aid to Gaza. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said on Monday that humanitarian staff on the ground report continued restrictions on convoys, making it harder to carry out rescue operations in the besieged Strip.
The Ministry of Health in Gaza has issued an urgent appeal to replenish blood stocks in hospitals. Meanwhile, obstructions imposed by the Israeli authorities on the flow of aid into and within Gaza Strip continue to constrain delivery of life-saving assistance by ourselves and our partners. Our humanitarian colleagues stress that with famine now confirmed in Gaza Governorate, the humanitarian consequences of ongoing hostilities, of displacement and of aid obstruction are even more devastating for the population. We urgently call for an immediate ceasefire and full unhindered humanitarian access across the Gaza Strip to bring an end to the suffering of civilians.
Meanwhile, in northern Gaza, families in Jabalia are on the run again after a night of heavy bombardment left homes in ruins. Meanwhile, the UN says famine is tightening its grip with more than 36,000 people displaced in just the past few days. Zara Ferjani has more in this report.
In Jabalia, the crowded refugee camp just north of Gaza City, residents woke up to more devastation. Overnight airstrikes sent families fleeing once again, pushing carts, carrying what little they could salvage.
This is an extremely difficult reality. It is a disaster. Our homes are destroyed. The dead and the injured lie in the streets and no ambulances can reach them.
The Zionist occupation has intensified operations in northern Gaza, pushing residents to evacuate southward. Yet, after 22 months of war, Gazans say there is nowhere left to go.
Due to the intensity of the war and of the shelling on us, our children and women have been affected. There is no food or drink. Life here is completely dead.
For many Palestinians, this is yet another displacement, their 11th since the beginning of the genocidal war on the Strip.
We complain to God. We move from one displacement to another. A drone came and ordered us to evacuate amid gunfire and falling shells. This is our 11th displacement in the second round. May God revenge us against those who caused this.
Families say each time they flee, they carry less than before, just enough to survive the next journey. But as bombardment continues, Jabalia's residents know this may not be their last escape.
And in a different topic in the Middle East still, Syrian Transitional President Ahmed al-Shara says any attempt to divide the country is bound to fail. Speaking to Kuwait's An-Nahar newspaper, he stressed that Syrians see federalism as a path to partition, while insisting Syria's strength lies in its own resilience and its regional and international alliances. He added there's broad international consensus on keeping Syria's territorial unity intact.
Government's formation revealed Damascus' rejection of the methodology of quotas and replacing them with participation. The Syrian people view federalism as a step toward dividing the country, with a call to preserve the privacy of the components. For those dreaming of secession, whatever the cover they use, this is a dream that will not come true. There are several reasons, including that this decision is not made by a few, but rather it is a decision of the Syrian people who reject division. All regions of Syria have different components and no one can claim otherwise. Everyone must know that the dream of secession is rejected by the Syrian people, will cost a lot of blood and will not lead to anything positive at all.
Syria's transitional president has also ruled out any normalization with the Zionist entity, saying it won't happen without the full return of the occupied Golan Heights. He stressed that withdrawal from the territory is the key condition for any future step.
The countries that joined the normalization agreements do not have occupied territories. The relationship with Israel passes through the return of the Golan Heights and the 1974 agreement. After that, we can consider achieving a permanent peace agreement. If possible, we do not see that soon, given what is happening in the Gaza Strip and the presence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Elsewhere in North Africa, Western Sahara Resource Watch says the EU Commission is pushing for a new trade framework with Morocco that skirts a European court ruling and covers occupied Sahrawi land. The group warns the move is highly controversial and stresses the Polisario Front, the Sahrawi's sole recognized representative, must not be excluded from any talks.
Any trade talks of monitoring mechanisms can only be credible if they ensure the full participation of the Polisario Front, recognized by the EU Court as the representative of the Sahrawi people. Without its involvement, such mechanisms and talks cannot fulfill the EU's commitment to respect self-determination.
On a related note, the Vice President of the National Reef Party, Youbal Ghadioui, has condemned what he called Morocco's bullying of Sahrawi representatives at the recent Tokyo International Conference on African Development. Speaking at a party event in Spain, he blamed the Moroccan regime for repeated provocations in international forums, saying it even forced TCAD organizers to step up security around the Sahrawi delegation to prevent possible attacks.
The Sahrawi delegation was placed under surveillance, meaning the Japanese state imposed heightened security measures on the Western Sahara delegation. Why? Because previously, the Sahrawi mission had been attacked by thugs linked to the Makhzen. Is there any regime in the world that behaves like this? A regime that, in full view of the world and in front of cameras, uses such thuggish tactics. If this happens openly, what happens when the cameras are off?
Moving on to another story, but still in Africa, in Libya to be precise, the High National Elections Commission has released preliminary results for 7 municipal councils under the Zawiya office. The announcement was made Tuesday by Commission member Abdelhakim Shab, who said the polls went ahead last weekend, despite what he described as a treacherous attack on the Zawiya headquarters.
The supplementary voting process for the municipal council elections of the second group in El Zawiya, Al Kubra, Sabratha and Surman began last Saturday, the 23rd of this month, after being delayed due to the treacherous and cowardly attack on the office of the electoral administration in El Zawiya at dawn on Friday, the 15th of this month. The day was originally scheduled for voting in all the municipalities of the second group. We now announce the preliminary supplementary results in Al Zawiya Central, Al Zawiya Middle and Al Zawiya West, Al Zawiya South, Al Zawiya North, Sabratha, Surman and Bir Al Ghanam.
A Libyan elections official says the municipal vote was carried out smoothly and with real enthusiasm, noting it unfolded in a democratic atmosphere under the watch of observers and candidate representatives.
What we witnessed from our dear citizens on election day marked a new historic day. You are the heroes of this democratic day with your massive participation, proving to the world that your will is indomitable and that your voice is the true force by which nations are built. The electoral process was conducted with enthusiasm and mastery in a democratic environment with a large presence of observers and candidate representatives. This was not just an election day. It was a day of determination and affirmation of our commitment to a better future. It is the moment when the strength of the popular will is embodied and when citizens' aspiration for positive change are united through the peaceful transfer of power.
France Insoumise leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon says he's moving to impeach President Emmanuel Macron, with a motion set to go before the National Assembly on September 23rd. Speaking to RTL Radio, Mélenchon dismissed a no-confidence vote in François Bayroul's government as meaningless, insisting Macron himself is to blame for what he called France's crisis.
Monsieur Bayrou n'est pas le responsable de la situation.
Mr. Bayrou is not the only one responsible for the current situation. Those who preceded him with the failed economic policies and poor management, such as Mr. Macron, are also to blame. So if anyone is responsible, it is the President of the Republic. Exactly 1 year ago, we filed a motion of no confidence, and I inform you that we will file it again on September 23rd. Along with that, we will present in addition to the no confidence motion, which may no longer matter since the government will have already fallen, a motion for dismissal.
French politics is really going through one of its darkest moments, with deep social and economic crises fueling louder calls to oust President Emmanuel Macron and pull confidence from his government. Analysts are saying the turmoil could open the door to a major shift in power and even speed up the collapse of the Fifth Republic. Here's Selman Asib with more details in this report.
France is facing growing political deadlock and uncertainty. Signs point to unprecedented internal unrest and possible shifts in power. Many see the government's performance as a major failure, with ineffective solutions deepening the crisis. For their part, analysts warn this could jeopardize the future of the Fifth Republic, especially amid calls for President Macron to step down.
Ce qui est à l'ordre du jour, c'est évidemment le passage à une sixième république.
What is clearly required is the transition to the Sixth Republic, just as there was a transition from the Fourth to the Fifth, and to correct its course. Back then, political decision-making was impossible, and today the Fifth Republic has reached its limit because of the excessive power concentrated in the hands of a single person.
Years of political turmoil have plunged France into an unprecedented crisis, with parliament dissolutions, multiple governments in 2 years, and an upcoming confidence vote for Prime Minister Bayrou. Meanwhile, rising extremist movement and Macron's refusal to include opposition deepen tensions, risking his political future and possible exit from the Élysée Palace.
Nous voterons contre la confiance.
We will vote against granting confidence to this government. Yes, and I add, Mr. Bayrou, France is in danger. This is your record, and Emmanuel Macron's record. Look at our situation. We now have $3.445 billion in debt, about 13 to 14% deficit. This is the result of 8 years of Macron's failed policies. Many industrial companies are threatened, agriculture is struggling, and the French are saving and consuming less.
This is a sign of a political crisis pushing France to the brink, recalling the decline of the Fourth Republic in the 1950s, especially given the similar government collapses and political divisions.
In France still, the finance minister is warning of a serious fallout if the government collapses, even raising the prospect of IMF intervention should a no-confidence vote go through. Bruno Le Maire voiced concern over the country's mounting political and economic strains, urging leaders to steer clear of scenarios that could rattle markets and weaken the economy. He stressed that maintaining investor confidence is crucial and called for a clear roadmap of reforms to safeguard public finances. And in another major development, Australia has expelled Iran's ambassador after intelligence linked Tehran to anti-Semitic attacks on its soil. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the country's security agency tied Iran's Revolutionary Guard to at least 2 incidents: an arson attack on a Sydney restaurant last year and another targeting a synagogue in Melbourne.
ASIO assesses it is likely Iran directed further attacks as well. These were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. They were attempts to undermine social cohesion and sow discord in our community. A short time ago, we informed the Iranian ambassador to Australia that he would be expelled. We have suspended operations at our embassy in Tehran, and all our diplomats are now safe in a third country. I can also announce the government will legislate to list Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, as a terrorist organisation.
Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong is urging citizens to leave Iran, warning that the government's ability to protect them there is extremely limited.
These were extraordinary and dangerous acts of aggression orchestrated by a foreign nation on Australian soil. A short time ago, we informed the Iranian ambassador to Australia that he would be expelled. We have suspended operations at our embassy in Tehran, and all our diplomats are now safe in a third country. I can also announce the government will legislate to list Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, as a terrorist organisation.
ASIO now assesses the Iranian government directed at least 2 and likely more attacks on Jewish interests in Australia. Our painstaking investigation uncovered and unpicked the links between the alleged crimes and the commanders in Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. The IRGC used a complex web of proxies to hide its involvement. This is the sort of obfuscation and boundary blurring I warned about earlier this year.
For its part, Iran has hit back at Australia's move, rejecting accusations of involvement in any anti-Semitic attacks and vowing to respond in kind to the expulsion of its ambassador. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Bagay said the claims were baseless and completely rejected.
تعاملات این که حالا اونها بیان یا ما بریم خیلی به اتهامی که مطرح شده مطلق.
The accusation that has been made is absolutely rejected. Basically, the concept of anti-Semitism has no place in our culture, history or religion. Unfortunately, in these cases, they resort to blame shifting to justify their anti-Iranian policies. What is clear is that this decision to close this embassy in Iran seems to have been influenced by the internal developments in Australia.
In Nigeria, childbirth remains a deadly risk. The World Health Organization is saying nearly 75,000 women die every year while giving birth. Hospitals across the country face shortages of staff, equipment, and medicine, leaving many women, especially in conflict-hit areas, without the care they desperately need. Here's the report by Yassina Riktinal.
In Nigeria, 1 in every 100 women dies while giving birth, making it the most dangerous country in the world to become a mother. Behind the staggering statistics are stories of women battling for survival in the face of failing health systems and relentless insecurity. Aisha Mohammed was in her 3rd trimester when her blood pressure spiked and seizures set in symptoms of eclampsia, one of the leading causes of maternal death. The only clinic in her village had no doctor, and the nearest proper medical facility lay 40 kilometers away in Maiduguri, a city at the heart of Nigeria's conflict-torn northeast.
Our problem is the lack of quality hospitals, as well as the lack of staff, medicines, and doctors to treat us. The inability to access the road between Konduga and Maiduguri at night to get to the hospital is also a problem.
Against the odds, she made the journey and underwent the cesarean section, giving birth to twins last April, a rare stroke of luck in a country where thousands of mothers never make it.
One day I had a miscarriage. There was no one home and I started to feel unwell. I didn't have a cell phone to call for help. When my husband came home, I was already bleeding. He rushed me to the hospital, but I lost the baby on the way because it was too far from our home.
Others are not so fortunate. In 2021, Falmata Mohammed went into labor on the road to Maiduguri with no hospital in her village and hours of travel ahead. She delivered on the way. Her baby was stillborn. Now pregnant again, she lives in Magmiri, where the hospital was burned down in a Boko Haram attack and only a mobile clinic remains.
The reproductive health needs for women and girls is very critical when you come to Northeast, and specifically in the deep field locations, that is where there are partial accessibility or mostly inaccessible. So people in these areas find it difficult to have access to service because the services are either difficult to reach them, or even where the services are available, maybe because it's a garrison town where it is trenched by the military.
For millions of Nigerian women, motherhood is not a celebration of life. but a roll of the dice between survival and death in a country of more than 220 million people, where hospitals are underfunded, clinics are destroyed, and conflict rages on. Giving birth has become one of the deadliest journeys a woman can take.
Finally, it's time to catch up on more news stories, and the news in brief is Sofian Kanturi.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said Tuesday that the Zionist entity must not make the establishment of Palestinian state impossible. Speaking at joint press conference, Merz stressed that Germany's position on Gaza and on settlement expansion in West Bank has been clear, noting that such plans violate international law. The World Health Organization has called for an immediate end to attacks on health facilities in Sudan, particularly in the city of Al-Fashir in the west of the country. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the only functioning hospital in Al-Fashir has come under attack for 3 consecutive days, leaving dead and wounded, including patients and medical staff. US President Donald Trump warned of severe consequences for Moscow if Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky failed to meet to end the war. He pledged to help broker a trilateral meeting and vowed to end the conflict, calling it the hardest war since he took office earlier this year. Spain's cabinet on Tuesday declared state of maximum emergency in areas affected by devastating wildfires. Interior Minister said 113 municipalities hit by this summer's blazes have been designated as emergency zones.
And with this, we reach the end of our news program for tonight. For more updates, you can always check our social media platforms. That's it for me and the rest of the team. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.